Let's all start shaking as we do and start breathing more fully and more deeply. So we can start shaking. Let's start with the hands. Let's start from the outside, going in from the periphery and activating this Wei Qi. We talk about the external energy, and the external energy is quite strong at the hands and feet and head, because that's the most peripheral part of our body, the most external part of our body. So, and that's why for acupuncture, why one uses a lot of the points in the hands and feet, and in fact nearly all the major points, apart from a few like which are in the central channel and the ones that directly related to the organs specifically, are all below the elbow and below the knees, because that's where the qi is most external and most accessible for needles for acupuncture, and the most dynamic. So we're shaking our feet, and shake the feet as well. Shake everything. And just, and move the face as you're shaking. Move the muscles of the face. I don't know if you can see. So you move the facial muscles. Shaking the knees, shaking the elbows, shaking the hips. Then make sure you also, at some point, also start shaking the shoulders. So you could shake, the two basic ways is either alternating the knees going up and down, which gives you a different kind of shake with a wobble, a left to right movement. And the other one is both simultaneously, both knees going up and down. And that gives you more of a bounce, more of a bounce. And then there's the third one, which is more of the tremor. And that comes by having more rigid knees and vibrating the body and letting that come more from the feet. If you feel you're vibrating the legs and you're vibrating the whole body. So this is more of the tremor, what we call the tremor kind of. And it's faster, it's more internal, it's more to do with the whole feeling the body getting into waves and waves, vibrational waves of energy going through the body. Of course, keeping the mouth open to breathe more fully when you do this. As you do this, you will want to breathe more deeply because your activity will induce that. So it's good to alternate. When you do this on your own, you alternate between the shaking, the vibrational shaking, the wobbling shaking as we do by shifting the weight left to right, the left to right knee. And when you do the left to right knee, just to show you, you can actually have it with the feet firm on the ground, or you can move the feet up and down. So you kind of, the heels, just the heel part of the foot up and down, and that gives you even more of a left to right bounce. When that gets tiring, you can just keep the heels on the ground and shake it that way. So you can see. And the other one is this one. You're going literally, it's kind of much more of an up and down movement, like almost like your legs are like pistons. And you're letting, as you do that, you're letting the vibration of that, the bouncing of that, go through like waves again through the body. But that starts from the heel and then boom, 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 boom goes through the body. And in Qigong, the heels are considered very important to activate the energy. They bring the energy from the earth. And sort of there's particular channels that do that. There are channels that don't have points on them. They are what are called the extraordinary channels, and 6 of them don't have points on. They're activated through indirectly if you're doing acupuncture, but they are activated directly through Qigong, and that's where they come in, the so-called extraordinary channels. Only the front and the one going up the spine have points on them. So we're activating the channels called the heel channels, the yang heel and the yin heel channel. And one comes obviously on the yang side, on the outside of the heel, and one comes on the inside of the heel, and it goes through the body, and they're said to activate the qi from the heel, and it's obviously related to these ways of working with the body that's bouncing, and also related to the heel connecting to the ground, to the earth qi. So, and then there's the bouncing. So with the bouncings, we know we can make it more full. You can really bounce, getting it up and down, so it's slower. Relax. Let the shoulders relax. Let the arms shake as well. And you're really bouncing on the knees. Letting the hips bounce up and down. Really feel that hips like bouncing, moving. Relax the midriff so your hips can bounce. Yeah. And bring more of the weight on the, if it feels difficult, just make the gate a bit bigger. Then you've got more of a ground, more of a base for the feet, and then you can bounce more fully, more freely. And it opens the hips here a bit by having a slightly wider gate. The normal gate, as we know, is shoulder width, but you can go a little bit wider for certain movements. So here we're bouncing, and here now we're going to come forwards, as we know, where we let ourselves come further and further forwards, and still moving the knees, as you can see, and allow that movement from the knees translate through the body all the way down to the arms and hands. And also let the head go a bit. If you take your eyes off me, just let your head go, let it drop, and still kind of bouncing and breathing. Shaking up and down, letting, and you also feel like you're shaking loose, shaking free the arms from the fingers. You're letting go the energy out through the fingers. Okay, and then let's come up again, and let's go into the piston one. You change that, relax the hips. And there is no formula for this. You just follow instinctively how you want to shake, and which part of the body you want to focus on. Of course, you always use the legs. That goes without saying. But then you can then direct the shaking more in the shoulders, for example. So really feeling, letting the shoulders and shoulder blades go. So let's do that. Either both together. Nice, good, strong breath. Or alternately. And then getting the whole spine into it. So your spine wriggles in serpentine movements. And, you know, so you get this, sort of whiplash movement going through the spine, all the way from the head right down to the tail. And that's the way to get to the spine, to all the 24 moving joints in the spine, from the base of the head to the sacrum, as well as moving the sacral area, the sacral and the hips, the sacroiliac joints, very important wherever so many people get pain, where, as you know, I treat literally hundreds of people with pain in the sacroiliac joint, you know, where a lot of back pain comes from. So release the tension that accumulates on the sacroiliac joint, release the tension in the actual joint between the leg and the hips. Here, the big joint in here with the upper leg, the femur, and then, which we know gets very stuck. Hence why there's arthritis, so much arthritis around. Hip replacement. It's actually, it's not so much the hip, it's the actual hip joint here, the actual connection with the leg. And also feel that you are moving and wriggling your tail, because that helps bring the chi up, activating the serpentine energy that we know of in so well for those of you who do yoga, the so-called kundalini. And Chinese just call it the yang qi, the primary yang qi, which is connected to the kidneys. The yang qi of the kidneys comes up the spine, the yin qi of the kidneys comes up the central channel. So that's why the kidneys are so important in Qigong, but in health and vitality, because they are the base of all the yang, all the yin, their foundation. So we want to activate that foundation, wriggle your tailbone, shake it. So up and down, shake the tailbone up and down. You can go backwards, shaking by pushing your pelvis forwards, or shaking it backwards by pushing your pelvis backwards, and you get slightly different effect. Yeah, so literally you push the whole pelvis forward, as if somebody's taking their hands and push your backside forward like that. You know, you don't need to be coy about it. Yeah, boom, and just shake. And at the vibration. And then the chi can activate in the lower dantian and activate again with the foundation of chi. Because the foundation is below, as we know, and then on it builds all the other chi, including the heart center, and finally the third gate of the head. These are all based on the lower dantian energy. So we activate that. And that's why there's so much emphasis in Qigong on the lower dantian. You think, why on that one more, let's say on the upper dantian? Because if you get the foundation right, everything else stacks up. Everything else then can be built naturally. It will do it itself. And for most of us, it's this level that is out of sync, disconnected. We're disconnected with this part of us. I remember one of the very, very first Qigong type workshops I did way back when. And the teacher said, okay, put your hands where your center is, you know. And most of us put it on our heart. The rest of people put it on their heads. One or two put it on their belly, And actually, the teacher actually, no, it's below the belly. It's right there in the lower abdominal, suprapubic bone area, between this pubic bone and the navel. Is that your center? You know, for us Westerners, we're not so connected to this, our center. So this is the center of the body. And as you can see, it's halfway more or less between the feet and the head here. And that's why it's called the center in that sense. The spiritual center, of course, is in the heart. This is the center, the vital center of the vital essence. So vibrate the center, shake it up, shake the legs. So very simple, how much shaking can do. Very, very simple. And there are one or two schools of Qigong that everything they do is through shaking. You know, so it's not unknown. Okay, and then we're going to jog. We do some jogging up and down, just to loosen it up further. Oh. And you can feel how warm you get with doing this movement. So take off layers and then we put them back on again later. So this is a very important movement, you may see, because it's where you bouncing left to right, but you make sure everything is loose. So your shoulders, it's almost like what boxers do, you know, sort of bounce, and then like loosening everything up, loosening. So behind, you can see you're loosening the spine, you're loosening all this area. You can lean forwards, you can lean backwards, you can bring your shoulders into it. So let's consider this as also a part of shaking, even though it looks more like jogging on the spot. And you can let your feet come off the floor for a few of them. And you also can do it very fast. That. And then slower, slower, slower. And then let's just slow it down and just stand. Hands open, mouth open, toes open, armpits open. So not like this, like that. Open armpits, open groin, open fingers, open knees so they're not locked, bow, open elbows. And let the chi, just breathe, let the chi flow through all these open joints. That's why in Qigong, it's never seen good to lock your joints unless you're doing some kind of martial arts type movement. And even in those, you don't always lock your joints. You keep the joint soft, as they're called, because there's more strength. So one of those classic sayings in Chinese thing is softness, there's great strength. You know, that sort of idea. So you breathe, feel the breath going right through the body, from toes to head, or from toes to hands to fingers, as we do. Just close your eyes for a minute. Just close your eyes and just be in that relaxed state. Feel the effect, just taking stock